Jesse's Jabber with a friendly face. Welcome into your favorite space. If it's on his mind or it's in the air, and you've got a minute, drag up the chair. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Stay a while and enjoy the chat. Jesse's Jabber, Jesse's Jabber. Time goes by, life goes faster. Take a minute just to clear your head. Maybe there's comfort in the words that he says. Going through life with his kids and his wife. Throws in sports and some PS5. No hot takes, he just shoots it straight. Just a regular guy at the end of the day. If you found your way through the endless noise and clatter, listen in, maybe tell a friend. This is Jesse's Jabber.
The great white whale has hauled a lot of people over the years. If you looked at the odometer, you'd see the literal mileage. But if you looked at the stains on the carpets and the scuffs on the plastic panels, you'd see the real history. Baseball players with muddy cleats, family members crammed into the back rows for holiday trips, friends who needed a ride, a laugh, or just a way to get from point A to point B. Most of the seats are usually full. Some folks have ridden with us for a season, and some have been along for years. Lately, as we've driven from one baseball field to another, I've been thinking about something. There are a lot of people who ride with us during the good seasons. When the weather's nice, the tank's full, everybody wants a seat. But the real test of any passenger and any relationship comes when the vehicle breaks down on the side of the road in the pouring rain. Sure, everyone celebrates when everything's going well, but who's still hanging around when life gets hard? This episode isn't really about the casual magic of friendship. It's about something much heavier, much more rare, and infinitely more valuable. It's about dependability. There's plenty of people in this world who enjoy our company when life is light, but a lot less will show up when showing up costs them something. As I've gotten older, I've learned that the most valuable people in my life aren't always the funniest, the most successful, or even the ones I spend the most calendar days with. They're simply the friends who show up. This is Jesse's Jabber, outnumbered, overstimulated, and on the mic. Let's get into it. Welcome in. I'm glad you're here. When we're kids, friendship is easy. It's built on proximity and convenience. You live on the same street, you sit at the same lunch table, you play on the same team. Life naturally puts you in the same places. And friendship often grows without much effort. Somewhere between raising the 12, chasing endless baseball schedules, paying bills, and trying to remember why I just walked into the kitchen, I've noticed a quiet shift about adulthood. Sure, it's still easy to make friends. We meet people constantly at work, at the ball field, or through our kids. But the hard part is keeping them. Adulthood changes the landscape. We don't need a friend who can pass us the ball anymore. We need a friend who answers the 2 a.m. phone call without asking what's wrong first. We need the friend who simply says, "Where are you?" One of the things I've noticed while watching the 12 is how naturally kids make room for each other. They'll become absolute best friends over a shared afternoon snack, a quick wiffle ball game in the backyard, or 15 minutes in a neighborhood swimming pool. They don't overthink it, and they don't guard their hearts. Friendship just happens. Adults aren't quite so good at that. We build walls out of our schedules and fences out of our fatigue. As kids, school, sports, and neighborhoods give us built-in friendships. Then adulthood arrives with careers, responsibilities, mortgages, kids of our own, and calendars that somehow stay full 6 weeks into the future. And that forces friendships to stop happening by default and become something we choose intentionally. That's one of the hardest truths about adulthood. Left alone, friendships drift. Not because anyone did anything wrong. Life just happens. Schedules fill up. Kids get older. Responsibilities increase. Months pass. Sometimes years. Friendship requires intentionality. Not grand gestures, just consistent effort. A text message, a phone call, an invitation, a simple check-in. The little things done repeatedly become the foundation that holds when life gets difficult. What's interesting is that we have more ways to stay connected than any generation before us. We can send a text instantly. We can comment on a photo, react to a post, send a quick message without ever leaving the couch. Yet somehow, many adults feel lonelier than ever. I think part of that is because we've started confusing interaction with connection. A social media like isn't friendship. Oh, we should grab coffee sometime, text, isn't friendship. Even seeing someone regularly isn't necessarily friendship. Real friendship isn't measured by frequency. It's measured by dependability. The truth is, we can go years believing we have an enormous circle of friends, but crisis has a way of thinning the crowd. Friendship isn't measured by how many people know our name or how many contacts are stored in our phone. Most friendships look pretty similar when life's going well. Everybody shows up to the birthday parties. Everybody likes the social media posts. Everybody enjoys the good times. The difference shows up when life gets messy. The difference shows up when something breaks, when bad news arrives, or when we need help and have nothing to offer in return. Real friendship gets measured in those moments of need. It's revealed in the inconvenient hours, the uncomfortable situations, and the season when life isn't neat and easy. That's where we find out who our people really are. That brings us to the concept of the 2 a.m. friend. It's a powerful, almost sacred image in adulthood because not everyone gets that phone call, and certainly not everyone earns it. Think about our own life right now. If everything fell apart in the dead of night, who would we call? And just as importantly, who would call us? I think true friendship is measured less by how often we laugh together during the good times and more by who we would trust with our absolute worst day. The friends who show up at 2 a.m. don't always know what to say. They don't arrive with a rehearsed speech or a list of fix-it-alls. They just know they need to be there. When life falls apart, whether it's a terrifying medical diagnosis, sudden loss of a parent, or financial hardship that keeps us awake at night, the social landscape changes instantly. Hardship acts like a filter. It doesn't create friendships or destroy friendships. It reveals them. When the worst happens, we quickly learn exactly who our people are. It's not because the people who disappear are terribly bad or malicious. Most people simply don't know what to do with someone else's pain. But a crisis creates a hard line between the people who merely care from a distance and the people who actually act. A lot of people will text us to say they're there if we need anything. A much smaller, quieter group actually answers when we call, or better yet, steps through the front door without waiting to be invited. The older I get, the less impressed I am by words, and the more grateful I am for presence. When people are hurting, we often become paralyzed because we don't know what to say. We search for the perfect words. We rewrite text messages. We worry about saying the wrong thing. But if we think about the hardest moments of our life, we probably don't remember exactly what everyone said. What we remember is who showed up. We remember who sat beside us. We remember who brought dinner. We remember who checked in weeks later after everyone else had moved on. Nobody remembers the perfectly written text message. They remember the person who sat on the kitchen floor with them while the world was falling apart. Presence is a love language that doesn't require a script. Sometimes, the most powerful thing a friend can say is absolutely nothing. Just being there communicates something words never can. It says, you don't have to carry this alone. I've come to believe there's two kinds of friendships in adulthood: convenient friendships and consistent friendships. We live in a culture that worships convenience, but deep relationships are inherently inconvenient. A convenient friendship operates entirely out of comfort. It thrives when schedules align without effort, when life is easy, or when everybody's winning. Convenient friends are wonderful people, and their friendship is a beautiful thing. But a lot of times, that friendship is fragile. Consistent friendship begins precisely where convenience ends. Consistent friends are there for the celebrations, the victories, the cookouts, and the moments when life feels light. But they're also there during the grueling months of an illness, during the quiet embarrassment of a job loss, through the heavy fog of grief, or in the middle of absolute loneliness. The strongest friendships aren't built during celebrations. They're built during those interruptions. They show up for hospital waiting rooms. They show up for difficult phone calls. They show up when there's nothing enjoyable about being there. Anybody can be present when the sun's shining, but dependability is love with work boots on, willing to trudge through the mud because it refuses to let you walk through it alone. One type shares our wins, the other helps carry our losses. And if life has taught me anything, it's that we really don't know the difference until the storm arrives. It's easy to sit back and grade our own social circles, counting the times people let us down or failed to show up when we needed them. It's much harder to look at our own reflection. Before we spend our lives appreciating or longing for the friends who show up for us, we have to ask the uncomfortable question: are we that friend for somebody else? When somebody else's life falls apart, do they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they can call us? Would we answer? Would we show up? Would we sit in the uncomfortable moments without feeling the need to fix everything? When convenience leaves the room, do we introduce ourselves? Or do we slip out the back door too? It's easy to measure friendship by what we're receiving. It's harder to measure it by what we're giving. Think about the people in our circles right now. Who are we checking on when there's nothing to gain from the conversation? Who are we making actual inconvenient time for? Who in our life right now needs a text message, a hot meal dropped off on their porch, or just someone to sit beside them in the quiet. Whether they like to admit it or not, most adults are carrying far more than they ever let on. The friends who show up rarely get public credit or a trophy, but they are very often the exact reason somebody else makes it through the week. Maybe the challenge isn't simply finding dependable friends. Maybe it's becoming one. Tonight, the great white whale is sitting in the driveway under the glow of the front porch light. There are baseball bags in the back, empty water bottles rattling around under the seats. And if history is any indication, a missing shoe or sock buried somewhere deep in the third row. Inside the house, the 12 are finally winding down after another full, chaotic weekend road trip full of running, laughing, and growing up right before our eyes. As I think about all the people who've ridden along with us over the years, I keep coming back to the same conclusion. The people who have mattered most in our lives weren't necessarily the loudest voices or biggest personalities. They weren't always the people we spent the most time with. They were the people who showed up, the people who answered the phone, the people who stayed, the people who checked in when everyone else assumed we were fine, and who refused to leave the side of the road when the vehicle broke down. When life gets heavy and the noise fades away, the friends who show up are usually the ones that will last a lifetime. So before we go, think about the person that came to mind when we talked about the 2 a.m. phone call. If you realize tonight that you don't have that person right now, maybe the place to start is by becoming that person for somebody else. Because in a world full of people who may or may not know what to say, there's still something sacred about the friends who show up. This is Jesse's Jabber, outnumbered, overstimulated, and on the mic. Drive safe. Hug your people. Be the friend who shows up. And we'll talk again soon.